Today, live from Seattle, it's All-Star Saturday.
And here is the first competitor, Michael Jordan, who unfortunately couldn't be here last year because of injuries.
Now, Michael Jordan told me he had something special. He may be trying to take off from the free throw line a la Julius Erving. The people are excited. They like this.
I can hear his engines revving now.
Air Jordan ready to take off. He got 49. I don't believe it.
Unbelievable.
There we go.
Second dunk in the semifinal. Michael Jordan.
They gave him a 50. They gave Jordan a 50. He defends his championship.
Johnson runs it down, lead to Freddie Brown. They'll do it. Seattle has won it.
Saint is always the guy who knows how to find the beer.
Hello.
After a loss and you hear that, like, Saint, throw me a couple.
There were, pool parties. I can remember after the game, stopping and, Mark having to go in and get beer for the team after a great win.
I mean, the equipment managers in the NBA world, they're like in their own world. They're like a cult.
Yeah, so we all have nicknames. My last name is Lumpkin, so everybody calls me Lump. You got Sid from Orlando, you got Johnny Joe from Boston, you got Johnny Lig from Chicago, Guru, who's Rudy, who used to work with the Lakers, Big Shot in New Orleans. To me, we were like the founders of the way the equipment was handled.
I played in the NBA and I used to always go to the games and everybody knew him. Barkley, hey Saint. Rick Mahorn, hey Saint. I'm like, man, who's this Saint guy, man? This guy is like, he knows everybody.
When I first came to the Thunder, I was doing interviews with everyone. One of the interviews was Saint. He was just asking me about a bunch of different stuff, and then he mentioned fishing, and then I mentioned eel fishing. And I told him how to catch an eel. And I was like, yeah, bro, you just grab a sock, you throw some meat in there, because the eel's teeth are inverted, which is true. Put a rope around the sock, throw it in, they'll bite it, they can't let go. You pull it up, and then you're good to go. I told him we do it all the time. Like, yeah, bro, I do it all the time. And he loved it, Loved it. Then I got drafted, and then a year later, he kept mentioning it, and then I just came clean. I was like, look, mate, I don't do that shit.
Mark St. Ives.
Mark St. Ives.
So let's see, Mark St. Ives. Yeah, the old wanker.
Pain in the ass.
That sums him up for me.
The dickhead.
Cockroach, can't get rid of him.
We called him Funky Punch. He is the runner of shit.
Blue guy.
Loyal.
Nothing bothers him. Authenticity.
Pioneer in the league.
Organizations don't really run well without a good Saint.
This building is probably how I got my start with the Sonics. The owners of this dry cleaners used to wash the Sonics uniforms in the 70s. Their oldest son, Keith, would deliver the uniforms back and forth from the Kingdom.
Frank Furtado was the trainer for the Sonics.
He hired Keith. Keith was given the responsibility of the ball boys.
He ended up marrying my old babysitter, Jody. Told Jody, he says, hey, I got to hire some ball boys. Isn't one of the kids down at the end of the block 13 years old?
One day she called and said, would he like to be a ball boy for the Sonics?
Jill said, like for a game? And he said, no, this is a job.
That's literally, it just kind of fell into his lap.
That's how I broke into the business, as being the only 13-year-old on the block.
These were early Sonic tickets that we saved. I think one might have been his very first game as a ball boy.
His very first game was the night the Sonics got their rings.
I remember before he left, he says, Daddy, I'm scared. And I said,
if you work hard, things will happen for you.
And he said, this is what I want to do. And I said, then be the best you can be. What is it, 40 years later?
Hey Fred, it's Mark with the Thunder. Hey, just want to give you a heads up, I'm leaving the arena right now with all the equipment, and we should have everybody out there in the next 25, 30 minutes. Good to go.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Okay, we'll see you shortly. No shower, eh?
Yeah, no shower.
Bang, 3 o'clock, fine him. Fine his ass right now. Drive gonna take any longer tonight, do you think?
20 minutes.
We're going to leave at 4:30. I'll talk to Coach and see what he wants to do. Took us 20 minutes to get here. Do you want to back it up 15?
If you think that's 5 o'clock.
I mean, that would be safe. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. Got it.
What he manages and what he handles, you know, is really incredible.
I don't think people realize like everything that goes into a basketball team. Coming into a city, moving out of a city.
Coordinating uniforms, coordinating shoes, he's coordinating buses, he's coordinating hotels.
Getting your bags to the next city, finding your bags, bringing your bags to the room.
Taking them off the truck, loading them to the basement, stocking them. It's a lot of work doing it every single day.
Steven gets 2 game jerseys because he's a sweaty mess after first half, and so he needs a dry one for the second half.
Hot day.
So in 1979, I became a ball boy for the Sonics. 84, started the equipment manager role. I believe it was 94, 95, took on the role of facility manager. 2002 or 3, added the security role to my hat, and then 2008 became director of operations when we moved to Oklahoma City. 2016 became vice president of logistics and engagement. I remember we were in Orlando at Summer League, and Sam had set up individual meetings with us to discuss this move that was going to take place.
I didn't know if asking him to come make that transition was going to be met with excitement or disdain. And I remember like kind of eking it out.
Everything that came with making that decision became just an avalanche of emotions. I had to then address my family and say, this is going to be offered to me, what do we do?
But when someone has to pick up and move themselves from a place they've been their entire life to a place they've never been, I took that as a tremendous sign of confidence, and not necessarily in me, but in like what we were trying to do with the organization. And I knew at that point he'd be a staple person in the organization for as long as I was there.
I know the way that Sam Presti feels about Mark and his importance, and I know how much what it was that decision for Mark to leave Seattle to go to Oklahoma City meant to Sam. I'm with Sam in the fact that there's a deep appreciation for people like that around an organization that make it go, that people on the outside will never know.
We came to him with the opportunity to really grow and expand his role, but he was going to have to leave behind some of his day-to-day tasks in order to focus on a broader set of responsibilities, many of which he had never done. His willingness to do that and to take that chance, to me, was probably the best indicator as to why he's lasted this long in the business.
Breakdown of the cars in Chicago.
Okay.
Car 1 is CP and Gene.
Okay.
Car 2 is SGA, you and Maddie.
Got it.
So from a departure standpoint, we're in no hurry to get to Denver. So 1 would be a 2 o'clock departure to Denver is 2 hours, about a 4 o'clock arrival.
Once the schedule comes out in August, myself, Donnie, and Saint, we all sit down and we look at the schedule and we figure out where we're going to stay, when we're practicing, what places on the road we need to have shoot-arounds. He's organizing the hotels and the meeting rooms and the ballrooms and the food and catering and all that stuff. I mean, he's doing everything.
Logistics, mate, it's bloody a nightmare. He does a really, really good job of it. I mean, there's no hiccups anywhere. There's always a plan B. Obviously, you can fuss about any sort of travel, but it's very smooth.
The biggest compliment you can give a guy as an equipment manager is that when nothing's going wrong, you know he's doing a good job.
There's certain things that have to happen on a regular basis, but in his job, there's always these forces that are trying to disrupt that, you know, and his job is to keep the kind of the cadence kind of marching on and not being disrupted.
Unfortunately, we had a mechanical issue with the airplane tonight. It was a part that was a no-fly part, so once they determined that the part couldn't be fixed, they were going to have to get a replacement part. There was an unknown time on how long that was going to take, so this turned out to be our best option. 3-hour bus ride, not the most optimal option, but other scenario of getting an airplane flown in here was going to be about a 4 a.m. arrival, which by the time you get planes, luggage, crews switched over, we were probably looking at a 6 a.m. OKC arrival.
Historically, in the NBA, he's like an encyclopedia when it comes to exposure to different situations.
We've had nose cones collapse on airplanes. We've had some player fights. We've had players destroy locker rooms. We've had uniforms stolen. One time pulling in the Pentagon, I got machine guns pointed at me, you name it.
City officials conferring here prior to the start of this game. Michael, we don't know what they're talking about.
Due to unforeseen circumstances, the game tonight has been postponed.
The game was officially canceled here in the arenas.
This astounding and unprecedented story.
I'm out there just watching to see how my people are operating when all of a sudden I start seeing people running out on the court that aren't normal. So I know something's up. I remember Chris Paul walking by me. He just looks at me and we make eye contact and he spins back around and he says, "Saint, have you ever seen any shit like this before?" Here's a guy who's been in the league 14, 15 years and has seen everything, and he looked at me because he knew I'd seen a lot. We just couldn't put a finger on it. We just had no idea what was going on. One of the memorandums that has come from the NBA is that every team needs to have a facility hygiene officer. My responsibilities are to ensure the facility is in the safest condition it can be for players and staff. Walking the building, looking at touch points, things that have been the normal forever that are not normal anymore. And these are like stopgaps to get us up and running again, but in the big picture, they may be with us for a long time.
He's very cerebral when it comes to his job because he understands the player. You're the doctor, you're the counselor, you're the priest. A parent, you've got to be a comedian. If you don't keep an even keel, if you change your personality around the players throughout the season, you'll lose them.
Guys confide in you because you're with them all the time.
He's just a truth teller, and he's good to have around, and he doesn't have to be the guy that's showing you film, trying to get you to play different. He doesn't have to be the guy that's going to trade you or sign you to a contract, but he's just the guy that is like, tell the truth about you if you're being a dickhead to him.
Oh, he's the #1 shit talker in our organization since I've been here, and that's what makes our relationship unique because he's always kept it real with me. I mean, there's been many times I may come off a triple-double and he's like, "Oh, that's all you got? You can't do anything else?" And like, he's always been the one that always keeps me grounded, and I appreciate him more than anything.
All right, brother.
Center, love you, brother. Love you. Take care, brother.
All right.
Take care.
All right, we'll see you, bud.
I think Russell really appreciated someone that would stand up to him and talk back to him. Is like probably refreshing for him to, have Saint do his thing.
My philosophy as far as working with all these people over these years has always been, I'm loyal to the logo. So whoever's the general manager, whoever's the head coach, whoever's the players, that's who I'm loyal to. What's their expectations of the people around them? So that's really been my philosophy over the years. Thank you. Hey, get off me.
I crack jokes on him all the time, but that's my way of showing that I really care for him, and obviously he knows that because he cracks them right back. But that's just the kind of relationship that we have.
I'm very thankful that Mark St. Ives wasn't just an equipment manager for me, but is a very good friend and a lifelong one at that.
Trying to get out of Portland here, trying to get home in time for Thanksgiving. Got arrival time looking at about 3:45 a.m. So just trying to get everybody up and running. All right, fellas. See you guys. Yeah, that's all the bags, Tom. Thanks, Kimber. Appreciate it.
Have a good Thanksgiving.
Yeah, you too. We'll see you in a couple weeks. $4:22 Central Time. Pies available. Plant-based pie. You don't just get them from anybody, but you get them from me.
My man, appreciate you, man. Happy Thanksgiving. Hey, look.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, buddy.
Thanks for sticking around. I know we were slow getting out of here because of all the damn pies. So, all right, thanks, Chip. So this is normal end of a road trip procedure for me. Load up the trailer, all the equipment, make sure all the guys get their luggage. Last one out of the airport, headed to the practice facility, unload the trailer, drop off the trailer, and head home.
Lakers and Celtics both win. Thanks for staying up all night and happy Thanksgiving.
Trust me, his hours, way longer than any player or coach or trainer could ever think of in terms of the type of work that he had to put in.
I think about all those years being away from his son. He didn't talk about it a lot, but you know, he always tried to make sure he'd get away and make a call home, you know, at night. And but yeah, I'm sure that was really hard for their family to be apart that often, and just with the demands of the job.
People don't understand how much you're away from home. How much you're away from home. And there's no do-overs in life. You don't get a chance to say, all right, well, let me hit rewind and start over. That's not like that, man. It's tough shit.
You can't get time back. And so he's kind of taught me that it's not about quantity, it's about quality.
So this is Lincoln Park. We made almost a daily visit here with the dogs or with Skylar, whether it was baseball games or just going down to the beach. This park, you know, spent a lot of time here. His most competitive years were out on these two fields. There was a lot of dirt kicked out on that field. That was good.
Most of the time we spent was during the summer. We'd do like one big trip or do like camping trips when I was a little bit younger.
I think the outdoors, it was something that definitely grew with him, especially with fly fishing. It was kind of a new pastime for us, and we ended up spending a lot of real quality time together, you know, out here like places like this.
That was just one thing that we always kind of bonded over, and we still do. I mean, when we talk about fishing trips and things like that.
I had a really close friend of mine who was our play-by-play announcer in Seattle. He told me, he said, you know, we have a unique job in that we're not a traveling salesman because our kids can look on TV and really know where we're at. It kind of hit home to me. It was one of the first things we bought Skylar when he was a toddler, is he had a map of the United States as his placemat on his high chair.
And I thought, well, this will be perfect because, you know, he's in like preschool. You know, I would show him where his dad was. It was good because it was a way for him to connect. You know, like, I know where my dad is. It's not like my dad's in the atmosphere. He's there. He's like, it's concrete. My dad is somewhere and I know where he is.
I understood he wasn't there, but it was part of the job.
I remember we had this big snowstorm in Seattle and it never snowed, and he was at the age where all he wanted to do was go play out in the snow, and I had to leave, and we were going on a long road trip, and it was just like, you know, this kid doesn't have a dad. You know, it just...
Kids want their dads. I mean, you know, they want their dads as much as they want their moms.
It's hard both ways, whether it's hard on me, hard on them. I'm on the road, so I'm disrupting their life, and they have to adapt to, where am I at?
I'd be remiss if I didn't say that I resented him a lot sometimes, and it wasn't really his fault, other than that was just his job and he traveled.
I look back now, 12 years later, and my son is here, he's married, I have a granddaughter, my wife is comfortable here. Looking back on that decision, it was the right decision. It just put our family all back together.
I really think that Oklahoma, honestly, has probably brought all of us closer together in a lot of ways. It's been good for them that this happened in terms of their relationship. He may never have met his wife and had his baby, and I mean, all these things.
What are you doing? You're hanging in there, aren't you, for no nap?
At the time, driving here on a beat-up green truck, thinking it was going to be for a summer, and now looking back, and you can't imagine it happening any way differently. The team hadn't moved. I mean, I wouldn't have a life that I would never trade for anything right now.
First off, Tammy, we're so happy to have you in our family. Finding soulmates is hard, and I think obviously you and Skylar, you're soulmates. The biggest joy is the lovely little Miss Sophie who came into our lives. So here to a long, happy marriage. Cheers.
Cheers.
I can't wait to see my granddaughter grow up. Can't wait to more trips and dinners with Carrie, to watch Skylar and Tammy grow as a family. That's what I'm looking forward to. So I hope I've made an imprint on this world of NBA basketball. I hope I've made an imprint on the people I've touched. I hope I'm viewed as a friend, a respected colleague, a respected person. But at the end of the day, that's my career, that's my job. What I really hope is my wife views me as a loving husband. My son views me as a loving father. And my granddaughter views me as a loving papa.